Hello, we are now looking at more skin. We're looking at thick skin right now. This is skin from the palmar region or plantar region. In other words, we're from the palms of the hands or the soles of the feet. Thick skin is obviously thicker. It has a much thicker stratum corneum and it has an additional layer called the stratum lucidum. We can see that a lot more clearly if we go closer. So we're at 40x right now total. Here's 100x. Here is 400x. Great. We can see the thick stratum corneum and then very, very thin layer. It's kind of halo looking. This right here, that is stratum lucidum. So that layer you only find in thick skin, not in thin skin. Once again, stratum corneum, very thin, dead, flaky. Stratum lucidum. The darker stuff here, that's stratum granulosum. It has granules, grainy looking, because of the keratohyalin, which dries out the keratinocytes. Stratum spinosum is this bigger, lighter layer, and then stratum basale is the single dark layer at the basal layer of the skin. Separating the epidermis from dermis is a basement membrane. Basement membrane is just a collection of basically like sticky proteins that keep it down, and then we can see the rest of the dermis. This is the papillary layer is very, very thin. So just this region here, along with the bumps up here, that's just areolar connective tissue papillary layer. And then deep to that, all of this is reticular layer. Whoops, this far. All this is reticular layer. It's dense, irregular. Go deeper to that, and then that's where we can find our subcutaneous, our adipose. That's what thick skin from the palm or sole, from the palmar or plantar region looks like. If we look at skin from the scalp, that's going to be very different. Skin from the scalp is thin skin and it has hair. You'll notice on the palms or the soles you don't have hair. Thick skin does not have hair. Thin skin can. We can clearly see where hair would be. Here's a hair follicle and a longitudinal cut extending all the way down. I like this one is cut a bit deeper, so it's just the deeper part of the hair, but we can see some features of the hair more clearly in this cut. I'm going to go into 100x. This region of the hair is called the hair bulb, and this darker part is living cells called the hair cells are called the hair matrix. And the hair matrix, these cells undergo mitosis and push up and create what we know as hair, this keratinized hair. There is a hair papilla where there is connective tissue in this region of the hair bulb, and that gives nutrients and has nerve endings. This is also where you'd find the root hair plexus, which is why if you lightly touch hair, you can sense the movement of hair, and if you pull a hair out, you'd feel pain because of the nerve endings in that hair papilla. Since we are also in thin skin with hair, we can find several glands, a couple glands here. Let me find a good example. Well, there's a lot of examples, but here we go. Here we have our hair follicle, and this is the hair cavity, where the hair would be. Next to hair follicles, you can typically find sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands are clusters of light-colored, grape-like glands that secrete sebum into the hair follicle. Sebum and these sebaceous glands, they're released by holocrine secretion, meaning these cells are constantly growing and then bursting, growing and then bursting. So all these grape-like cells, which I'm at 100x right now, I'll go to 400x now. Here, all these light-colored cells, those are sebaceous gland cells, and they secrete out into the hair follicle cavity onto the surface of the skin. Sebum is great for waterproofing and keeping your skin moist because it's so oily. Too much production of this or a blockage of this gland can lead to acne because bacteria can then grow within those pockets. So sebaceous glands you only find in thin skin because you don't have hair in thick skin. One other gland that we want to find, which is actually right here, ignore this thing in the middle, that's just debris, It's on either side. These glands here and these glands all over here. We can see clusters of circles that are dark. So we know it's epithelium, but it's epithelium that's really deep. It's in the reticular and hypodermis layers. These glands have relatively small collapsed lumens, and they're clustered all together. These are sweat glands. Specifically, they're the watery sweat. That's eccrine sudoriferous. Eccrine sudoriferous. And they're released by exocytosis. So that mode of secretion is called merocrine. You're only seeing the cut tubes here, but these tubes do extend all the way to the surface of the skin, because we obviously secrete sweat to the surface of our skin to help cool us down, release some toxins, release excess salts. So in thin skin that's found on the scalp, we can find hair, we can find eccrine sudoriferous, and we can find sebaceous glands. In thin skin from other areas, specifically from the axillary region or the pubic region, we can find one additional gland. Once I find it, there we go. Okay, so here we're looking at skin from the axillary region, the armpit. You can see our epidermis at the top and dermis and hypodermis at the very bottom. You'll hopefully already notice that there are some glands that have small lumens, like the eccrine sudoriferous that we just saw, but there's also much larger glands with really large lumens. We're going to go closer to that. So we're at 100x now, and this view will be fine. These are the eccrine sudoriferous. When you look for eccrine sudoriferous glands, or really any gland, it's always going to be simple cuboidal or stratified cuboidal. And when it's stratified, that just means 2 layers, really, 2 or 3 layers. If it's more than that, then you're looking at a hair follicle. And I can show you another example of that in a second. So these are eccrine sudoriferous, a collection of eccrine sudoriferous glands, the watery sweat. But these large ones, again, 1 or 2 simple cuboidal layers, this is apocrine, apocrine, apocrine sudoriferous. This is the thick, smelly sweat only secreted from the armpits and the pubic region. The reason for it, not too well understood, possibly for lubrication, possibly for the release of pheromones, but it's not really shown that pheromones have much to do with anything with our reproduction. But pheromones do play a larger role in other animals. So once again, apocrine, larger lumen, eccrine, sudoriferous, smaller lumen. This one doesn't have hair, so let me pull up one with hair. To differentiate hair follicles from glands, hair follicles always have multiple layers, more than just 2 or 3 layers. So I'm going to go a little closer. We can see 3, 4, 5 layers here of dark colored cells. It's all epidermis. It's all epithelial cells. Hair and glands are both epithelium, so they look very similar. And they both have lumens, both have cavities, but there's going to be more than 2 layers for hair follicles, only 1 or 2 layers for glands.